Hi, so as said before, my name is Suzie Smela, and the title of my research is Manga Outside the Framework, an analysis of copyright law and fan creation in Japan's independent comic industry. So while I'm going to share some of my research and findings, what I really want to focus on is why I chose to undertake this project and how this research made me redefine how I see my work and myself. So first, I should say, I am a fan of Japanese comics. You may also know them as manga. As many American manga fans have done, an interest in Japanese pop culture spread to an interest in Japan in general, especially the language. That interest was seen as more serious as a pursuit, so I began to downplay my infatuation with manga, at least academically. The interest in language led for me to study in Japan, or study Japanese, which then led for me to study in Japan. It was supposed to be your run-of-the-mill study abroad semester, make new friends, learn a language, blah, blah, blah. But thanks to an array of colorful characters I met along the way, including a professor who refused to give up the fighting robots of his youth, and a sociologist with a few dozen figurines in his closet, I began to rethink the academic merit of my love of manga. So, manga in Japan is not just for children. In fact, it's a part of daily life, and therefore is a big business. In Japan, Japanese youth products, manga included, now account for more of the nation's exports of either automobiles or steel. That's a lot of money. However, what interested me the most about manga wasn't actually manga itself, but doujinshi, the parallel, often intersecting self-published fan comic industry, which uses copyright characters to populate all manner of fan homages. And while many foreign fans have not ever heard of doujinshi, much of what's commercially available as manga in the United States either spawns from, or in fact is, doujinshi. It's an industry that thrives on the intellectual property of another, yet it is allowed to flourish. I had to learn more. So, the existence of the doujinshi industry begged three questions for me. Why do doujinshika do what they do? How did the doujinshi market come to be so large? And most importantly, where are the copyright lawyers? If you want to study Catholicism, go to Rome. And if you want to study doujinshi, go to Comiket. Thanks to a generous grant from the Freeman Asia Society, I was able to do just that last summer. Comiket, short for Comic Market, is a mecca for fans of both the producer and consumer variety. Started in 1976 as a small gathering to unite fans, it's turned into the largest comic convention in the world and the largest cultural convention in Japan, all without having one mainstream publisher and all without charging anyone any money to attend. My original thesis hypothesized that these dual industries were allowed to coexist thanks to the difference in copyright law between East and West, which allowed loopholes ambitious fans were able to exploit. My methodology included filming the proceedings, distributing a survey to doujinshika, and interviewing doujinshika, people who create doujinshi, attendants, and volunteers. While I thought the surveys would yield the most interesting results, what really made me redefine my view of doujinshi and my view of myself as researcher were the interviews. Doujinshi is not an industry, even though it's conducted on an industrial scale, and Comiket is anything but exploitative. While over $30 million US are exchanged per day at Comiket, the over 35,000 vendors rarely charge more than what it takes to break even. It's run not on profit, but an avocational sense of equality, anathema to much of the mainstream methods. So here is Japan's copyright law. As you can see, it provides just as much protection for copyright holders as the Western law. However, while the US is quick to persecute anyone who tries to make any fan creations in America, the manga industry, which is much larger, not only turns a blind eye to this, but often actively promotes what could be seen as intellectual property theft. The differences lie not in the laws, but in their underlying assumptions. The American copyright law is predicated on a one pie sort of idea, where anyone who creates something that might be taking away from their pie, such as fan creations, will be costing them money. However, the relationship between manga and doujinshi is different, not antagonistic, but symbiotic, a virtuous cycle. So manga, with its wide print run and wide popularity, provides a constant stream of inspiration for fan creation. Also, doujinshika often use manga as a springboard to popularity because there's already this existing fan base who will buy things simply because they recognize a character. And even though it's highly marketed, it's also kind of enclosed in what it can be. There's not much experimentation because there's such a small profit margin. And that's where doujinshi comes in. Because it's not profit-oriented, they're able to have as much innovation as they want. And instead of shutting down Comiket, the manga creators and producers use this to find a new pool of creative talent and to find that new innovation. I was also wrong in doujinshika's motives. Though I thought they would be trying to get into the manga industry, almost none of the people I interviewed wanted to break out. In fact, one of my favorite quotes from someone who volunteered at Comic Market for over 16 years was that for him, it was a sacred space. Comic Market was able to bring people together in a way that they couldn't have in the very socially rigid Japanese society, which stuff like age, sex, profession, and ethnicity really define who and how you interact. While I saw so many at Comiket, they were not having a tense environment, but in fact it was jubilant. All those surface sort of things were completely superseded, transcended by the shared desire to covet and create. A desire that was completely made by themselves, their own agency and choice. While I often felt in Japan very isolated, very far from the norm, my conspicuousness really put me away from others in a way that I had felt a lot of trouble interacting. However, in Comiket, even though I was American, I felt completely all right there. In fact, I realized that even though I was American, if I look beyond geography, foreigners, or those who feel foreign in their own culture, can find a sacred space of connection where surface things do not matter and you can really connect on a personal, human level. Thank you.